stage is yours.
Hi, everyone. So a slightly different style of presentation. I do a few conference presentations. I usually prepare a big slide deck. It takes me 6 months. I train. I try and do TED Talk style that I don't look at my slides. And today we're doing it without slides. And today I'm doing it with somebody else on the stage, Martin, who bravely agreed to do this. Well, it's not a talk. It's, I hope, a conversation. And we'll talk together about something that happened, that we both took part in. And then eventually we'd like to join you into the conversation. So we'll ask you for questions. And if you'd like to maybe share some of your experiences as you did with Matsei, that would also be great. So this is a relaxed conversational style. So if you don't mind, I'll light the fire. Okay. So Martin, we know each other pretty well, but maybe we should introduce ourselves. So can you quickly say who you are and what you do?
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Martin Kudrnáč, and I'm 46 years old. I have 3 children, 2 cats, 1 wife, but I think it's not so important for today's conversation. Okay, I will start. I have worked in IT more than 20 years. I just started at Česká spořitelna as a developer. After that, I continue as a team leader, solution manager, and before I left the company, I was a product owner. And 3 years ago, I just started in Volkswagen Financial Services as a head of IT delivery, and now I'm responsible for the delivery in this company. It means for the system analysis, for the testing, for development, especially with the vendors, communication with the vendors, and also for the second level of support. And I think it's enough.
Okay, thank you. My name is Phil Royston. I used to be a software tester, but at some point I became an entrepreneur of some variety with Marcel, and I'm co-owner and CEO, I use the quotes on purpose, of Tesena. Okay, so Martin, I know you from Česká spořitelna. We met there on some bigger projects, I think, and we can probably both say that in Česká spořitelna testing was quite well developed, quite well organized. So when you moved to Volkswagen Financial Services, what did it look like when you arrived?
Oh, I was really very surprised because it's quite small company. Because, for example, Česká spořitelna had more than 1,000 people in the IT, and in Volkswagen Financial Services, it's about about 50 people, something like this. And for me, I was very surprised by testing, because there wasn't the testing properly do it. Yeah, everything was on the business side. All the testers was in the business sides, and for me it was very, very difficult to say, okay, is it normal? And I just try to think if we can make better. And it was difficult, really difficult for me, because I just see that the business are quite, how to say, upset of this, because they spent lots of time with the testing, with their own business, and also because there wasn't testers. The first solution from the vendors goes to the business, and they were very upset because the development was quite poor, the quality was quite poor, and it wasn't so good. And I just think, okay, how to improve, but not only me, but also my colleagues, especially Pavla Brunclíková, because she was there before me, and we just try to think how to improve the testing in Volkswagen Financial Services.
Okay, so Pavla was there before. If I remember, she already was a test manager on the data warehouse project, which was a big project for you.
Yeah, she really was. Yeah, and she just started to improve testing in the data warehouse, and she prepared all the test concept, test strategy, test plan, and everything about this. And it was the first step for us that we can show to the business, to the project managers, to also the board members that we can do it. Yeah, but it was only the first step, and she really prepared before I just joined the company.
Okay, so based on that, you and Pavla got together and you wanted to achieve something. What were you trying to change? You were trying to had business doing most of the testing or all of the testing, and you wanted to make a change. What was the change you were trying to achieve?
We just try to find a way how to do it. Yeah, because it's not easy way. How I have to say, because if you imagine that you have company and it works somehow, but it works. The business is upset about the testing, and you just want to change this situation. Yeah, and Pavla just prepared the concept and the test strategy for us, because we just discuss lots of time about this. Yeah, because I was from Česká, it's a financial institute, and Pavla has had lots of experience also about the testing, and we just discussed and prepared the solution for the company. But it's not so easy, yeah, because you just go to the management, to the board, and you ask, okay, we can fix it, this situation. But it will take time, and it will take money, and it's not cheap. I have to say it's really not cheap to prepare proper testing. But we just talk with the board members, and there were, I think, lots of things we can improve. The first was, okay, we can take the testing from the business. They will have more time for their own business. The second, just imagine that you are the business guy and you have to test. How you will prepare the test case? One sentence. Just test this, because everything you have in the head. And I don't have the time to just describe the step-by-steps. Yeah? And it's very difficult if these people leave the company, because there is no transfer know-how. Yeah? And this was the second, what we just described to the board members. Okay, you have quite big risk, because if somebody leave, you don't have the know-how in the company, and if there will be somebody new, okay, you will again teach him or her again and again and again. Yeah? And there were lots of discussion about this.
Okay, so what was the steps you then had to take to try and, or what was the condition from the board in order for you to finally persuade them?
Pavla prepared the test concept and the strategy for the company, and we just go to the board member who was like our boss, yeah, and we just talk about, we would like to do it like this. We will prepare the test team. It will take this time. It will cost lots of money, yeah, and we had lots of discussion. And after, I don't know, 10 meetings and 10 changed the presentation and everything, we just said, okay, we agreed, and we have the deal with the board member, and it's finished. Super. We can go to the whole board, and we can ask for this like project and for the money. But what was the big surprise that there were 2 more board members, and they just said, okay, it's nice, maybe it helps us, but lots of money, because just imagine that we ask about tens of millions in 5 years. It's not so small price, yeah. And they just think, okay, and just also the imagine that the board members, they don't have any experience about the testing, about the IT. They just saw, okay, maybe it will help us for our business, but it still lots of money. And what was the big surprise? They just said, okay, it will be good, but we would like assessment. And it was the time when we started to find somebody who will help us. And it's time when Tesena came to the company.
Okay, so you came to us and said, we in order to convince the board, we need this test assessment. Yeah? So we came along and we said, okay, we have this model that we use, and it requires that we basically do quite a lot of interviews in the company. We try and understand what's happening. We don't just talk to testers, we talk to all the major stakeholders, project managers, business analysts, business people, IT managers, operations people, and we do a lot of interviews, and we try and assess the situation as is, and we try and evaluate each company individually, because test assessments historically it's been a model, it's been a standard. They've tried to TPI, TMMI, is always saying this is the ideal testing. And it's based on years and years of testing theory. It's all quite good, but if you go to Volkswagen Financial Services and go to the board and say you should be at TMMI level 3, they have no idea what you're talking about, and it's not even relevant. Yeah? So what we try and do in our model is to, if I just click, hopefully it'll click, the other click, that we say, okay, where are you on this sort of model? Most companies come to us when we do this assessment and say, oh, we don't do testing. We never believe that, because wherever you go, and even if they don't have any organized testing whatsoever, you will always find somebody who's doing testing. It's always there. Testing is always there. But then we say you could be controlled where you're actually doing the right things, basically. You've got some sort of test cases, you're doing some sort of test design, you're doing some sort of tracking of test execution, you're able to do some basic reporting. And then say, well, that's okay, but it's nice to get some sort of effective level where you're doing the right things in the right way. So it's not just burning a lot of time and energy on doing testing, but you can actually do testing in a more efficient, effective way. And that effective is for every organization something different. So what we're trying to do in those interviews is not just understand where you are, but understand where you need to be to get to this effective, because it's very silly to go to some company like Volkswagen Financial Services or a small financial company or to a startup and say, you need to be at this sort of standard, this some level. So when we came along, we did all the interviews, basically. We disappeared for a while. And what we always do is we come back, and once we've got some findings, I haven't got all the slides, we have a pretty big PowerPoint which has all the findings, all the key gaps, recommendations, and a heat map, which is very good for senior stakeholders because they like to see where they are score-wise. Yeah, so it shows red, you're missing something. Orange, it's there, but it could be improved, and green means you're good. So they're always looking at the green one, saying, yeah, we've got 7 greens over there, and so forth. And then we have the blue stuff, and the blue stuff is the stuff that we think, hey, it'd be nice to have, but you don't really need it now. And I always think of advances like where you get into more where your testing process is constantly improving itself. You know, it's reacting to changing situations, because situations never stay the same, but it's able to adapt. So that's the process we go through. So we come back a couple of times, we cross-check, because the other thing is that when you do interviews, we do lots of interviews because we cross-check what people are saying. Yeah, a business person will say one thing, we go to a project manager, will say something different, and we try and piece the picture together. And then we always come back to you and Pavlo and said, okay, we've heard this. Is this okay? Do you feel comfortable with this statement? Did we miss something? Did we misunderstand something? And often we get feedback, yeah, you maybe need to go and talk to these guys or these people, and we'll go around again. And eventually we come with a report, yeah? And the report shows what the key findings were. It shows the as-is status, what the key findings are, as I said, the heat map and a roadmap. And the roadmap is a recommendation of what steps, usually in 4 phases, if I remember. Phase 0 is just basically those basic things you just need to do before you start anything else. Maybe if you haven't got a test tool, have a test tool. We need that before we start anything else. And then looking for quick wins at the beginning, because that's good to get stakeholder buy-in, you know, if you see some positive effects from it, but basically do some structural changes. And then we can start doing, based on the dependencies and based on the priorities, we'll say, phase 1, you need to do something else, and phase 2, you do something else, and you can build up some momentum. And it just gives stakeholders an idea of, you can see a piece of paper with maybe it looks like lots of problems, but then we show them that maybe it's not so difficult. So how was your feeling about that process? Did it feel okay, or were you angry with us?
I have to say that maybe in the beginning, I said the recommendation from the board member was okay assessment. And I have to say that we were a little bit upset, because it means, okay, we have to find some company, okay, it will take time, we would like to do it, we know how to do it, because me and Pavla, we had lots of experience from the other jobs, and we said, okay, why we need it. And after that we said together, okay, we must, okay, we will find some company who will help us with this. And we just said, okay, if it will be somebody, we need the best in the Czech Republic of testing. And we just asked Tesena to help us. And I was quite surprised that it was really smooth, clear. We just had the first meeting and we just discussed, okay, what do you need? And Phil and I just, Radek, thank you. And Radek said, okay, we need this, we need this meeting with these people, okay, just prepare for us, and we would like work on this, and this is like the plan for the assessment. I said, okay, it doesn't looks like very bad. It's quite good, and I have to already say that it was great. Yeah, I think it took some weeks, but what also we need, we have or our expectation of this assessment was, okay, we have the vision, we have the strategy, and we hope that the result of Tesena will be the same. And for me, it was, I don't say if it was surprised, but not surprised, but the result was really the same, how we just planned before. And it was the very good information for us that we prepare very good, and also for the board members, because they just see, okay, they were there before, they just present the ideas, and there is some external company, make the assessment, and the result and the vision is the same. And I think it was good point for us that we can start the change.
Okay, so for us, this was I would say, a slightly different situation, because there was already you and Pavlo there who already had a vision, and we really did our assessment independently. We didn't ask what the vision was, but when we did the interviews, I think we saw the same problems, we heard the same things, and we saw the same maybe approach the way out of it, which was basically, from my point of view, when I heard business testing, I said, oh, great, because I've been in so many organizations where business absolutely refused to test. And I think that's not a good situation. Business should be somehow involved in testing. But here the problem was that business were basically the front line testers. And with business people, if you ever try to do any UAT with any business people, you'll know when business available, the system isn't, or doesn't work. And when the system is available and you need someone to test, business not available because they've got the yearly marketing drive or something, and they need to sell leasing contracts, so they don't have time. And for them, when I was talking to the business people, they've been in Volkswagen Financial Services a long, long time, So you're talking to people who've got a real deep knowledge of business, and they were so loyal and so dedicated. Really, it wasn't like, we hate testing, we don't care. They wanted to test. They were really motivated testing. And you can see that they've got all this business know-how, and they really would make great testers, except for business is their job, and testing was something they were asked to do because no one else could do it, basically. And when we looked at what they were doing, like, as I said, it was controlled because they were writing test cases. How often have we been in a situation where business have been testing and you say, would you like to write some test cases? And they say, no, we never write test cases, And then you say, what's the status? And they say, 20%, And how's it look? Terrible, but how terrible? Where is it terrible? Give me some information, So if you can get testers, business people to start at least writing some sort of test cases, then you can actually know what they're testing, you can get some feedback on what they're testing, you can start reacting to the situation. So for us, it was controlled. They were doing the right things, even though they were business people. The problem was we saw that they were doing happy day scenarios. They weren't thinking about edge cases. They weren't thinking about alternative flows, And maybe they were doing those things because in the side they were doing like exploratory testing, but nobody had any idea that they were doing those other scenarios, And they were super frustrated because they were business people, and there was two big projects going on at the time, And they were involved in these two big projects, which I would say were standard, complicated, horrible projects, really standard IT projects. But for the business people, it was the first time they'd ever been in a situation where the quality looked terrible, and they were very frustrated, and they wanted to do the testing when they could. And they'd been living in this Volkswagen Financial Services bubble for 15 years. And it was the first time they'd ever met that situation. So I was interviewing them, and they were saying, this, and then they send the defects back and all this stuff. And I was sitting there saying, so what? It's normal now, usually, and there's big projects. So it was, for me, I think sometimes we would help people psychologically, because in the interviews we kept saying, it's relatively normal, and we could actually tell people time to time on those interviews that maybe think about this and think about that, and maybe try and approach it a different way. So it was also an opportunity to talk to people and maybe give them some feeling that it wasn't maybe as terrible as they might have thought it would be. So eventually we came back and we said, okay, the idea is that you've got these business testers who have all this business know-how, and supplement them with a professional tester. So it would be kind of like a partnership between the business person and the professional tester, and the professional tester would help with writing test cases, executing test cases, but basically business people needed to be able to transfer their know-how to the professional tester, which we saw some problems in, because business people have got a lot of know-how and they don't have time to actually explain to anybody. And that was the problem with the board, wasn't it? They were saying, like you were saying to them, we'll hand over to the professional tester, but it actually takes some time before the professional tester knows enough about the business before they become effective. And the board were also skeptic about that, I think.
It's really true. They were skeptic, but I have to say that we start with the small pilot with one tester in one team, and the business just saw, okay, it works, it helps us, and if they have this information from one business area, they just saw, okay, maybe we can do it, but the information was, okay, we can help you, we can take the testing from you, but probably in first 3 months it will be more capacity, we need more capacity of you, because we don't know how to do it. And if we just look to your test cases, there is nothing, sorry, but no professional testers can help you with this test case. And we just need to sit with you together, just talk with you and prepare the proper test cases, and after that we can help you. and because the pilot was very successful, we can continue with the other areas.
Okay, so we had a final report. We went to see the board member, Axel. Yeah, so what was your feeling from that meeting? How did that go? We presented our results there.
Maybe I just changed the question. How do you feel?
I was, well, obviously I was nervous, yeah, but like, you know, but to some extent, Axel, like, is a Jednatel, a company director, but he's got some background in IT, so he actually asked some really good questions, and he turned on his skepticism, yeah, and he asked some really hard questions. He really challenged us that this is the right approach. Yeah? So I thought that was really, really good, yeah. But at the end of the meeting, I think we were there maybe an hour and a half. He just nodded his head and said, "Okay, yeah." So basically, you had the green light at that point.
Yeah, I have to say that the meeting was very, very great, because Axel, he was my big boss, how to say, and he had the experience with the IT, and also he knows that we need it. And I think the discussion and the question was just only check if you understand your work.
Yeah. But then I was surprised even more, because Axel asked me a question.
Yeah. It was a surprise for me as well.
Yeah.
Because I think the presentation and the result was really very good or great for him. He just asked if you can continue with the assessment in our biggest project, which we have in the company. It just changed the core system, and it was for me big surprise that we just finishing the meeting, and he said, "Okay, maybe I will need one more assessment."
Which was, and I have to say that I wasn't too happy. Let's say I was nervous, yeah. Because the project we're talking about is a big core system replacement. It's replacing a legacy system that's been there for a long time. It's very reliable, very stable, but it's a group strategy to have a new core system. Anyone that's listening to me now probably has been in a similar situation in many other organizations. And we know those projects are hard.
I have to say that just imagine it's a big project for us, and they just prepare, or the development is in the Portuguese. The infrastructure is in the headquarters, which means in the Germany, and there is a big cooperation between Portuguese, Germany, and us. And this is the group project, because this application for all the group, not only for us. And sometimes it's very, very hard communication with the other colleagues.
No, but Alex didn't ask me to do an assessment. He asked me to answer a question. He said to me, 80% of the effort in this project is testing. Is that normal, or is that correct? Yeah. So he wanted me to go away to answer this one question. Yeah. And the reason why I was nervous was because even when we do these test assessments, as I said, we talk to testers, but we don't so much talk to testers. We actually talk to all the stakeholders around, because testing is dependent on almost everything else. Yeah, it's a service provided that has to work in a certain context. Yeah, and as you know, as a tester, all we know, testers know that if the environment doesn't work, you can't test. If the business requirements and the specifications aren't good, we can't test. Yeah, if nobody fixes our defects, we can't test. We get stuck. Yeah, so always in any test assessment, I am talking to the people around, and I'm looking at things which are not directly related to testing, but actually impact on testing. And in many, many, many assessments, I have to go back and say, okay, testing, yeah, it could be improved, but there's other things that would make a big impact on that effort and time required to do testing, to get the quality good enough to actually go in production. And I was nervous from that point of view, because I know these big core projects have, and they've been running already several years. It's been through COVID, so it's slowed down and speed up. I know it has a certain legacy, and I know that in this environment which Martin described, there are many, many things that could be impacting on testing. So I said to Axel, I said, you know, like when I come back, I might not tell you anything about testing. I might tell you about other things. Are you okay with that? And he was okay with it. Yeah, so we went away and we did the assessment, which was basically, and then we came back maybe 2 weeks later, and I, you know, I told him the facts as I saw them, yeah, and I have to say, but also in these situations, they already know this, yeah, they're in a senior position, they're integrating lots of different information, so I don't think there was anything too surprising. Maybe some of the information wasn't too pleasant to hear from somebody else, but basically that's the reason why I was nervous, because I think in this situation Axel was absolutely fine about it, but I have been in other situations where senior stakeholders look a little bit annoyed when I'm presenting something. I'm saying, you know, project management is not, or planning on the project is not good or something like that. So that's the reason why I was nervous. So anyway, back to your story. So you got a green light. So it's 1.5 years ago. So what do you think the results of this, of Pavla's strategies has been? Do you see some positive things?
I have to say it's great. Just now we have a testing team, about 15 people. Just small part is internal, but more is external. When we started, we just think if we will make like service, or we just take some people from the companies and build the team step by step. And we just decided that the second way is the better. Just take the people with their skills, which we need, because there are differences between testing. It's not testing in one application. It means that we need some people who will test like the digital world, integration. We have 2 colleagues, we just help us with the automation testing. And we just build the team step by step. And I think now it's a very, very good situation in the company, because the business just feel that we really help them. Also, just now, for example, in some applications, we can have developed changes in 2 weeks. It means from the start of the development to the deploy to the production. And it's only about the automation testing. Also, we change the, how to say, mindset of the people, yeah. That especially, and also we just just cooperate in some processes. It means that just now, if we have some new project, the project manager knows, okay, they have to go to us, ask for the testing, and it's normal. And for me, it's the normal situation in the IT, and I'm really proud of this, that we and especially Pavla built this team. Yeah, I'm really proud of this just now.
How many incidents did you have this year in production?
Very good question. I have to say the last 1 year we didn't have any big, or I have to say nothing in the production. Yeah, just if we spoke about the major lease. Yeah, we have 4 times per year we have the major lease, and lots of minor lease. I think it's about 200-300 leases per year. It's quite lots of leases. In the major leases, we didn't have any bugs in the production, which is really great. And in the minor leases, it's depend the solution, yeah. Because sometimes we had the solution also from the headquarters, and sometimes, sorry, I have to say, it's like political. That we know that there are some issues, there are some incidents, there are some bugs, in the testing, we know it, but the political situation or the politics, like just say, okay, you have to go to the production. Yeah, but I think it's the normal. Yeah, it's always something between how big is this issue, this incident, and how you need the rollout or the deployment to the production.
Okay, so we've talked enough. If you would like to join in the conversation, you have some questions for Martin, hopefully, not for me. Do we have the giver of gifts? Is he coming? He's taking a long walk around the room.
Hello, I'm Luce. How do you verify the quality of the delivery you receive from the Portuguese developers? What kind of tests do you expect were done on their side, and what kind of tests do you prefer to run on your own, or are you running?
Yeah, I can help with this one because this was part of the analysis as well. So all the systems are externally developed in Volkswagen. So they have you didn't have any internal development. So we saw there the business were being faced by poor quality in some situations, and because the vendors are expected to do their factory acceptance test, and also you did some smoke testing in the integration environment as part of the handover process. Yeah, so the process was established that the vendor should come with a test report to say what they tested, and you should do the smoke tested, and that was part of the acceptance. But for some of the vendors that didn't work well because they were sort of legacy vendors, like if I could say that vendor lock situation where they didn't exactly abide by the rules. Yeah, but if I remember correctly, when we were talking about that, you said you were already trying to improve the contracts to make sure the contracts for all the vendors was the same. That this criteria, this quality gate criteria, was established contractually. Yeah.
It's a very good question. I have to say that the beginning there was no testing in the developer side. And how I said, Pavla started this in the data warehouse project. It was the first project and the first company when we just started to say, okay, we need FAT testing from you, and we need, you have to show us, not just tell we did, just show us, yeah? And it was the first step. And just now, I think we are somewhere in the middle with some developers, because it's really true, we don't have internal developer, yeah? Everything is by vendor or from the headquarter, yeah? And sometimes it's very difficult to just change this approach. Yeah? But we tried, and I think we are somewhere in the middle of this way.
Thank you. I think it's quite a common situation.
Hi, sorry. Basically, the way I understand it is, it's the topic of the talk is pragmatic test process improvement, but the way I understand it is basically pragmatic test process establishment, because you, by default, what you were saying, you didn't really have any testing. So Tesena was there to help you kind of create a functioning testing environment and push this whole initiative or this whole project into Volkswagen's mindset within the company to really want this as a testing. So you were not happy with the fact that it was not existing. So it's not much of an improvement, is it? Is it, or is it improvement? Because as you said there, like there's always some testing. Yeah. Yeah, so it needs to be like codified into like a functioning process.
It usually happens that some person becomes responsible for testing in an organization, and somebody at board level says testing needs to be improved, yeah, and we get called in, and they'll say to us, we don't do any testing. But when we start talking to people around the organization, you find out that people are testing, it's just it's not visible in the organization, because nobody wants to put anything live if it's not been somehow testing. So you'll find some business analyst who's doing the testing. It's just not formalized, but it's happening. And in Volkswagen Financial Services, I actually say the situation was actually pretty okay because business were testing. Business had the responsibility for testing. Business were writing some sort of test cases. They were using Jira for execution of test cases. They were writing defects into Jira. So when somebody said it wasn't that testing wasn't there, it was happening. And I would say in some situations that's probably enough. As I say, it's very context specific. In some organizations, if you get a few business people who have the know-how and let's say the motivation and want to take care, and business people generally test pretty well, even though they're maybe not doing a more formalized, more structured way, then that would be okay. The problem facing Volkswagen Financial Services was they were increasing their IT delivery. They had two very big projects coming along, which was starting to burn out the business people, and these frustrations were coming to the surface. So then they needed to move to the next level. So historically, I would say the model they had was okay. And I would say anywhere where business is testing, I would always take that as a positive sign. It shows that they're taking responsibility for the requirements they ask for. So they're actually going to check that it actually works themselves, and who else better than the business people who ask for the requirements to actually do the testing. It's truly they understand it the best. But in that situation, the business was getting overloaded. The quality of testing was we as testers, we know about test design techniques. We know about risk-based testing. We know that the right level of test case detail is good if we want to use that test case later in a regression test, so we can automate it and so forth. So those things business didn't understand at all, and really shouldn't need to understand, let's say. The problem really was, and so we said, okay, we can supplement with some professional testers. Axel was very skeptical at this point because he was saying, "You want to sell me some testers, right?" I said, "No, it's not that. But this makes a lot of sense if you have these, if you supplement the business people with these professional testers, and they work together, which is cross-functional. We're all a little bit agile, They're working together. The business person is providing the business knowledge, and the tester is taking care of the testing, and that was the improvement step. I think that basically they took the load off the business people. Business people could go back focusing on business and new business requirements and so forth, because that was also a problem that they couldn't actually focus on what they needed to do next, and that was the improvement made. And I think you're all moving on, because we said at that stage test automation is not relevant for you now, but as you said, you're now into iterative releases, and they've moved on into doing test automation. So it was basically not to say you should have a global test strategy. The formal models like global test strategy and stakeholder involvement and all these things. Basically, let's take it from a very pragmatical point of view. What's the pain point? And that was the pain point I've just described. And how could we solve that in a simple, pragmatic way? Okay, as you mentioned, it was expensive. It did take some effort. People had to be persuaded to actually make that change. And you did the proof of concept that demonstrated it. So that was the improvement. So I would say it wasn't the test. Definitely would say no. Testing did exist. Testing actually existed, I would say, as I said, that in a controlled way. They were doing the right things. They were just not doing it in a very, very effective way, which was burning people out in that situation.
Okay, just one more thing, and that was a question for you, so it's great that you took the microphone. If I remember correctly, then on the slide you're in the second phase, that you're like stable testing, that you're not in the efficient phase of the testing yet. So are you like continually working together with Tesena, or is it just
in this situation, this particular situation, Pavla is the one doing the test process improvement. She's an internal employee, and we know Pavla from the past. She's really, really good. So I think it was a real total advantage for Volkswagen Financial that internally they had this person who was driving the change. As anyone who's worked with any consultancy company in the world, driving things externally generally doesn't work too well. So if you've got an internal person who's trusted and liked, who can drive the change, then that's much, much better. All we did in this situation was confirm where the problem was, highlight what the problems were, highlight what the risks with doing a change were, because we had to say that potentially some risks with this, but also show that this model with supplementing business testers with IT testers, or whatever you want to call them, is a logical, pragmatic step forward. So that was our job. And that in some of the organizations we have the roadmap and we may continue, but in my opinion, it's generally better to drive the change internally than try and get some consultants. We can come along and show you the way. We also explain it's a short-term activity. It's a few weeks long. We'll give you a report at the end. We'll explain everything we found out. And generally the organizations then say, okay, we can run with this now. We know what we should do, or we already generally, they actually have an idea of what to do already. Testing is not rocket science. Yeah, so that's basically this test process improvement is to become a mirror, to provide inputs, provide some direction, and maybe show a way. We have a roadmap there that says, okay, just start with this simple stuff, win some hearts and minds. Yeah, you might make a small change, and that people, as you already did the proof of concept, that would be a good idea to do at the beginning, and then you can move on. Hopefully, I answered the question.
Yeah. Martin, did you win the hearts and minds?
Yeah, I have to just say the first it was really improving. Yeah, don't think that before I joined the company there wasn't testing. No, it's not true. Yeah, there were testing, but the testing was in the business side. Yeah, and it wasn't so efficient, and also. If you imagine that we just have more and more application, it wasn't possible to stay in this situation just only in the business, yeah. And improving was we still need the business, yeah, for the testing. UAT it's especially part of the testing where the business is in, yeah. But what we did. We just change the first testing. It means the system testing. We prepare the regression testing, automation testing. Is the part where business know nothing, and it's normal because there is not their business. Yeah, it's the business of IT. Yeah, and we just improve this situation. And the collaboration with Tesena. Yeah, we use Tesena for the assessment and confirm our strategy. And after that, we still cooperate with Tesena, but how to say, we built the team how we want. It means that we didn't have all testers from Tesena, but some of them are because they are quite very good people. And we just use it, but we still use it from the different companies as well, and we built our own testing team, and we just take the testers about their skills, yeah, not about the company.
Okay, one last question.
So, hello. I have one question, intro question before I move to the second one. The first one is because that's not what I'm not sure if I understood correctly. Do you have internal development or is it actually external provided by vendors?
Everything is external. Yeah?
Okay, so in that case, that means that whatever you are setting up on your site, it's pretty much on the level probably of the UAT, rather close to UAT testing, because vendors should be responsible to do the, well, whatever you call it, like SIT, whatever, the lower level, or it does mean that your agreements with the vendors, or how do you call it, contracts with the vendors is just wrong because they don't have to provide the software in the correct quality, right?
Okay, everything, all vendors are external. Yeah, it's external development in our company, or it just came from the headquarter. Yeah, and what just now we just try to change in the development side that we need the approving. They just properly made the FAT testing. It means the testing in their site, yeah. And after that, we just take the solution to the integration environment and start testing with our testing team. Yeah? And if everything is okay, we just put to the UAT and it's the business side. Yeah? And this is our approach how we do it. Yeah? And because lots of things are like fixed time, fixed price, that the quality, it has to be better and better, because if we just deliver the poor quality of the development, it takes more time for the testing and it takes their money.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the questions.
One more. Okay.
Okay, now it's my show time. So I would like to thank you, Martin and Phil, for the great talk in a special format. I hope you enjoyed it. That was, for me, at least for me, some kind of experiment. So we will looking forward for your feedback. Big applause to them.